Welcome to the 20th.
20. Holy cow.
20th episode of the GameFor Podcast. In this episode, we will talk about getting out of your gaming comfort zone. I'm Adam.
I'm Matt.
And we are part of Milkcan. We are a small company, which is not a word, a small company of developers and I was going to say designers, but it's really just designer. That's me. And we make apps and websites and stuff for companies, but we also make one called GameFor, which is for connecting tabletop gamers. It's something that you can find Android, iOS, the web. You can find stores and events and other players and conventions and groups and clubs, all kinds of stuff in your local area, and it's free. So check it out at iamgamefor.com. You can find a link in the description, and we'll mention it again probably during the show. What else? What have we been doing? What about us? That's what's important.
Yes, everybody's like, what are they doing?
Gosh, that's what people tune in for, really.
Yes. So one of the D&D campaigns I'm playing, actually it's the only one I'm playing right now.
Not your only role-playing, but your only D&D.
Only D&D. Right. So we are in the world of Eberron.
Okay.
Which is famously, I first heard about it from Dungeons & Dragons Online. That's where it was set.
Oh, yeah.
Well, it was the Warforged.
The MMO.
Yeah.
Right.
So the Warforged was what I used to know Eberron basically being, but hadn't done much about it, and they released a new campaign book back in November of 2019, I believe.
Okay, sure. Yep.
So that is where this is set, and so it's my first full in-depth kind of a campaign inside this world.
Nice. Are you running it?
I am not running it,
okay.
Which is nice.
Yeah.
And I'm really liking it. There's a lot of kind of like, for lack of a better term, steampunk type stuff, but it's magic rather than steam. Like
yeah.
Trains and airships and...
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I was thinking more like robots, but like not
there's
really.
some of that too, but yeah. So it's got kind of a unique feel to it that's really kind of fun.
That's cool.
But yeah, I've been enjoying the start of that. And then I've also been finally getting pictures and topics updated to get my blog going again. I've been very lapsed on getting that going. Put a lot of work into building a game table.
Your blog is called Gaming Matter.
Gaming Matter.
Yeah.
Matt R.
Matt R. Yep. And it's on Blogspot.
Yes.
We'll put a link in the thing.
Yeah. GamingMatter.com works as well.
Oh, that's right. You did. Yeah, you bought the
So, but yeah, there was a 2-part sessions on how to build a gaming table using my gaming table that I built. That took a lot longer than I thought it would.
The building or the blogging?
The blogging.
Right, yeah.
The building wasn't too bad, and I really enjoyed doing that stuff, but the blogging was, wow.
Yeah, no, yeah. Content creation is a bit of a pain sometimes. Yeah,
I totally underestimated the work. So
right,
It kind of burnt me out for a while,
sure.
and then got really busy with life and school and everything
holidays and all that jazz.
Yeah, so, but I've got my next couple of topics already started and started getting the pictures up for them and stuff like that, so that should be coming out pretty soon.
Nice.
If not already.
Nice.
How about you?
So I've been doing a bunch of different things, been working on some little projects here and there, and I wanted to do what I refer to as a palette cleanser, which is not like my painting palette. I cleanse that relatively relatively frequently. But no, it more of like a metaphorical palette, if you will, like the palette in your mouth. Anyway, I decided I want to work on something a little different for a bit. So a month back or so, Games Workshop came out with this model, which I believe is a new model. I've never seen it before. I don't know if it's just a repackage. I think it's new. But it's aimed towards their Warcry line, which is a fantasy-based, skirmishy kind of thing. It's a little bit like if we were taking the SATs, Kill Team is to Warhammer 40K as blank is to Age of Sigmar, and the answer would be Warcry. And so... he's called the Ogroid Myrmidon, I think. He's kind of like a big Minotaur.
Okay.
With a big cool weapon and a shield.
Oh, I know which one you're talking about.
Yeah. So he's relatively recent, and he's on like a 50mm base. He's just a single dude, but he's cool. And so I've built him, and I'm trying to figure out what I want to do to paint him. I'm going to probably use brushes and airbrushes and paint. That's my plan. but that's as far as I've gotten so far. So there's that. Yeah.
That's I think I'm gonna put them together with glue.
Yeah, I was thinking glue maybe. Yeah, that's something. Yeah, I'm gonna give that a try. But yeah, so I'm trying to figure out exactly how I want to do it, as opposed to what I want to do with it, I want to paint it. So and then I'm also working a little bit still on my Star Breach war bands that I built. Kind of, I don't want to say from scratch because that's not true, but I kit bashed them quite a bit. Kit bashing is taking parts from different kits and not literally bashing them together because that wouldn't work. Again, you use glue. So you do that. And so I've been doing some of that stuff. Also, I am still a relatively terrible basement cleaner. So that's going incredibly slowly because as it turns out, I don't want to do it. I just would rather not. I would rather do most other things than clean my basement.
There's only a way that we could do that.
What's that?
Maybe a company that cleans basements.
You know, when I thought about it, I honestly did. I'm like, what if I just took some money and I just threw it at somebody and said, just clean this? But they'd be like, I would have to stand there the whole time because they'd be like, well, what's this? And I'd be like, well, that's a bag of shields for my. You're
just saving manual effort at that point.
Right? Yeah, exactly. It's just they're literally just
you really wanted.
But to be perfectly honest, though, maybe just having somebody who's there on the clock moving along would be a better.
I bet there's like an HGTV show that could just come in there and do it. That seems like something that they would do.
My hope is to never end up on reality television if I can live that long.
HGTV, I'd be okay with.
I don't know. I'm not sure. Anyway, well, nonetheless, I don't think that they're going to do that. Like, hey, come, because it's not. Well, number one, it's not a hoarding situation, so that's not going to be interesting.
You're pimping your gaming cave, so
that may be a YouTube video, but it's not a HGTV video. Or TV show.
Not
I just
that
don't.
Attitude,
no, it's true. I mean, I don't know that I have the time to.
There's somebody right now that's like putting this.
If anyone from HGTV or any channel, not any channel, but on many most channels. If you want to start a TV show with me cleaning my basement and pay me to do it, cool.
Not even pay you, just do it. Like.
I mean, if they did it and then I didn't have to pay them to do it,
right?
I guess, or they would just film me doing it, but pay me to do it because they were getting.
Oh yeah. No. I'm thinking they would have like people in there that like you're sitting there,
like experts.
Yeah, experts.
What they need is experts who are going to be like, know what all this junk is and be like, okay, well, these are bits that are for $40K, so we're going to put them over here.
And these are not worth anything, and you have 5 million of them.
Right. I mean, all that kind of stuff. If they were just like, honestly, you would never play this build, really? I mean, if you're going to be playing tournament, I'm like, I don't like to play in tournaments. I'm like, all right, well, then we're going to put it over here. Right. But if you're ever going to play this tournament, this is garbage.
Right. Or they'll just be like, we're going to put this up on your eBay.
Yeah, sure, right, exactly.
Now.
And I'd be like, no, I don't. I need that.
They're like, no, we're putting it on eBay.
See, that's why I don't want them there. I don't know. But my wife might do it while I'm gone. I'm not going to lie. I'll just show up and it'll just be an HGTV van, and it'll be like
you'll come back from a convention and the whole basement's clean.
Ugh, that gives me the shivers. Yeah, I don't need that. Let's see. This episode, we've got a question from Matthew, not you.
Nope,
somebody else.
Matthew.
Yes. I was wondering what you guys recommend to get out of your gaming comfort zone. Interesting that today's subject is about this. How do you branch from one type of gaming to another? I'm a war gamer, but after listening to the podcast, I'm debating about a dip into the RPGs, the role-playing games.
Oh, jump in. The water's fine.
Yeah, there you go. So we got this question from Matthew, and again, thank you to Matthew for sending in this question. We're going to send you, because we've used your question on the air, we're going to send you an official limited edition podcast T-shirt that will say, my question got read in the podcast, and all I got was this lousy T-shirt. Yeah, I'm paraphrasing, but it's basically what it says.
That's an awesome shirt.
Yeah, it is. And so, yeah, we'll reach out to you, get your size and your address. But we were listening, or we read the question, and we were like, this is not a bad idea for a show. So
no, it's a wonderful
why
idea.
We're at
Yeah.
Yeah. So what are we thinking about here?
Oh boy, this is a good one.
So let's clarify, I guess.
Yeah,
We're talking about going outside of your comfort zone. So my comfort zone would be miniatures. I'm a miniatures guy.
You're a miniatures fantasy sci-fi.
Sure. Yeah. I'm not historical. Good point. Yeah, I don't generally play any historical games. So for me to go outside of my comfort zone might be to edge into, much like Matthew was looking at doing here, RPGs. Or potentially I'm going to get into CCGs. Now, I've made baby steps into a bunch of these different things. Like we've played some Keyforge.
Used to play Magic.
Yeah, a long time ago, I did play Magic a little bit. But then, we've done some RPG stuff, is even here at work and things like that. But the question is like, how do you want to go that direction? And you have moved out of your comfort zone because you were mainly a board gamer and a RPG guy. And then...
Well, and RPG was even not really
Yeah, that's true. It's relatively new for you, too. But then miniatures and stuff is quite new.
Definitely new, yeah. Yeah, so... Yeah, let's start giving some tips and let's see where this goes.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
So the first thing that this one comes from personal experience is that it's okay to fail.
Yeah,
you're going to fail, so expect it.
Like if you've never played an RPG before, your first session will not be probably particularly awesome, you may not be good at it.
Right.
The rest of the people around you who have been doing it for a while will probably. You will put you to shame, but they hopefully will be smart enough to understand that this is you being your first time, that they need to help you out, and that they were also not awesome role players on their first time, and that kind of stuff.
So expect to fail. You're going to fail and learn from it and be okay with it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, moving into, let's say you're a CCG player, you're a collectible card gamer, and you've been doing it for a long time, and now you're thinking about board games because you've got a bunch of friends who dig into board games. You're going to maybe look at it from the wrong lens for a bit. You're going to be looking for like card combinations and this and that and the other thing in certain games, and that won't be as important.
And your strategy is going to be way off. I know when I first started getting into miniatures, I'm like, well, this is what I want to do, but I don't know, can I do this? Because there's no grid, so I don't know if I can do
in comparison to say board games where you're moving along a certain track.
Like, can I take all these 10 guys and suddenly now they're in one line and hiding, and I was like, I feel like I'm breaking rules, but I'm not.
And that's the thing is amongst the 4 genres within tabletop gaming, and you've got your board gaming, you've got your role playing, you've got your collectible card gaming, and you've got your tabletop miniatures, wargaming, whatever. Amongst those, they are in many ways wildly different. Like they have similarities, obviously, but they can be a good deal different.
Right.
So, not quite getting the idea right away is nobody's fault, and it's not a bad thing. It's how you learn because you figure out what you don't know.
There will be a lot of things you'll go, oh, I didn't know I could do that. That was an option, especially like RPGs where it's friendly.
Oh, yeah, because things are so much. I would say out of all the games, RPGs are probably the most open concept, or whatever. You know what I mean?
Right.
So yeah, that's definitely the case. So yeah, it's okay to fail, and you should kind of expect to do it, and learn from it. That's how we learn, is by screwing up.
Now you said learn. How do you learn?
So yeah, in that situation, I would tell you. I mean, again, we learn by screwing up, but we can also learn sometimes by just doing a bit of research, and we have this thing called the internet. You may have heard of it. That is pretty awesome.
That's that Al Gore thing, right?
Right. Yeah. And it's got a lot going on. So the big benefit to what we can do these days, like when I was a kid, sometimes you would have a question and you didn't know the answer to it.
Right.
That's weird.
Or sometimes you would, ask one of your friends and they would have an answer, but you find out later that they really didn't have the answer.
Sure, there's that too. But like nowadays when you're like, I wondered this, and then you can just go find out. It's not that hard. So that's cool. And so because of that, you can go down some internet rabbit holes and start to learn about different types of games, the game that you're interested in or the new genre that you might be interested in dipping your toe into. There are plenty of YouTube channels. There are podcasts, strangely enough, blogs, all that kind of stuff that can help you to find either... Like, let's say you're interested in getting into role-playing games because you've been hearing about it a lot. Critical Role's, blowing up on Twitch and all that kind of jazz. So then the question you have to ask yourself is like, but do I want to play 5th edition, D&D, because that's kind of what they play, I think, for the most part? Or am I interested in something that's a little bit more sci-fi? Or am I interested in this or that? And that's where that kind of research stuff can come from. And you can find out a good deal online, a good bit of information online, but... The important thing is to then not just pull the trigger.
Right.
Because you're right there on also the world's largest shopping portal. And you don't just be like, oh, that sounds awesome. And all that stuff is right here. Click, 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 click.
Yes. And then your significant other wonders why the Amazon delivery person has a broken back.
Right, exactly. Yeah, that's definitely the case. So don't jump all in.
Right.
When you're thinking about getting into maybe trying out a new genre, moving out of your comfort zone within gaming, and spreading your wings. Have I used enough euphemisms at this point? I hope so. Metaphors. Anyway, when you're thinking about doing that, then don't just go out and buy a bunch of stuff. I talk to people in tabletop miniatures all the time who are like, oh yeah, I decided to play 40K, so I bought an entire army. And you're like, cool. Maybe that's not necessarily the best place, because I know there are plenty of folks out there who I don't bump into at conventions and talk to them, but they own an entire army, and a third of it is built, and a squad of it is partially painted, and they've got it all in their closet or under their bed, and it's been sitting there for a long time. And it's hard to get that money back. So instead, frequently in my area, I always tell people, hey, look, you should probably, baby steps is what you should do. Like, what kind of baby steps do you do in board gaming?
Don't buy your own board games.
Yeah.
Like, you don't have to go buy the top 20 hot board games right now.
Right.
You play others. You play demo copies at stores. Mm-hmm. And then, maybe there's one that you're like, oh, this one's so good. I like it so much that I want it to be mine.
Good stores will have a library sometimes. Right. And also local conventions very frequently have board game libraries too.
And a lot of the game stores now you can get, there's used and also dent and dinged areas. So, you can even maybe save some more money before going for that full brand new
retail box. Yeah. Yep. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. The ability to kind of, just really hold back from just trying to buy in real quick.
Right.
Because,
don't go spend
Magic. You just
you could spend
boxes and boxes and boxes of boosters.
Right.
Or tons of singles, which could get real expensive if you're trying to, especially if you're trying to like chase like a net list because you did a little bit of research.
You're like,
this will win all.
This
the
won last year's World, so I'm going to do it, and I'll dominate all my friends.
Yeah. No.
Good luck with that.
Yeah. Don't do that. Don't do that. So. Before you jump in, and again we tell you don't jump in like that, like right all in right away. We would tell you to, after you've done some of your online research, I would tell you to go talk to people that you know about what they like about the new genre that you're thinking about hopping into. If you know someone who's a role player, like go talk to them and ask them about what they like about it and stuff like that, and then ask them. This is called wisdom. Ask them what they would have done differently now, knowing what they know when they first started.
Watch their YouTube videos that they've created about it.
Not everybody's done that, as it turns out.
Oh.
No, I know. Not everybody has a YouTube channel. It's weird.
Huh.
But yeah, no, I would definitely, I think there's a lot to be said if you're, interested in getting into, I've done this when I was kind of, for a while, I was going to think about getting back into Magic a little bit, just playing Commander a couple years back. And so I went and talked to my friend who owns my local game store and is a big Magic kind of expert guy. And he gave me a bunch of tips and this and that and the other thing. And so we talked about stuff. But what I should have asked him was, what, I think that question, what would you have done differently? You know what I mean? Most people don't like unsolicited advice. But when you solicit someone for advice, you will generally get it, especially in gaming. You know what I mean?
You're saying that everyone's opinionated?
Everyone's opinionated in general. But in gaming, definitely, there's a lot of opinions. So if you can say to a person, you give them you give them the keys and go, look, let me know what you wish you had done differently when you got into miniatures or when you got into board gaming.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff. But yeah, definitely look into getting advice and help from your friends, or if you're part of a gaming club, talk to those folks, or if you're just find out from the store.
Yeah, join gaming communities and stuff.
Sure.
Like that. Yep.
Gaming communities online, like Discords and all kinds of stuff like that, are great places to find that information out as well. And then you kind of touched on this earlier, but then do some demos. Very frequently local stores will have demos, like specific demos for maybe new games that are coming out. A lot of times stores will also have, especially in board games, you'll have board game libraries. Yep. You don't usually have a Magic card library. There's not usually RPG library too much.
No,
that kind of
they'll
stuff.
Have free RPG day.
Sure,
that's
absolutely.
A great time to try a whole bunch of them.
But board game libraries, if you're interested in getting into board gaming, are spectacular because you can go to a shop and either check it out, sometimes for free, sometimes not, depends on the store.
Right.
And
we've talked about, sometimes they'll have 15 expansions in there, so watch to make sure that you're kind of doing the base version.
We did talk about that too, yeah. Because a lot of times Kickstarters will come out with a whole bunch of extra junk, and it may be more stuff. You might want to just learn the base game when you first start.
And and if you do learn like the base game, or if they're running a demo for you, another good tip is to kind of find out like, so we played kind of the demo. What's different in the full game?
Sure, right, yeah.
Because sometimes
people will run a simpler version as the
right,
demo,
and then,
just to give
and
you
then
the
they're
flavor.
like, and the more complicated one, it takes 2 more hours to set up.
Right, yeah,
like,
yeah.
Oh,
That's not my thing. Then I don't want that. Yeah.
Right.
No, unless you love setting stuff up for a couple hours. But that's a big important deal, is to go to, if you're like, you're like mostly, let's say, an RPG person, and you want to go to a local gaming convention. A lot of local gaming conventions will have, if you're interested in getting let's say, board gaming, a lot of them will have board game libraries that you can then, just check out a game and then do that stuff.
Or table games to sign up for.
Right. If you're a war gamer and you're interested in getting RPGs, a lot of times local conventions will have RPG games that are very welcoming to newbies, basically. You know what I mean? And so that's, I think, also a super good, like, stores are great for that stuff, but so are local conventions if you have them near you. We have a listing of local conventions in the GameFor app. So if you can't find one in your local area, but you hear about one that's going on or whatever, you can put them in there for free as well. Anyway, so yeah, that kind of stuff is important because it can help you really get the flavor for it before you start buying stuff.
Right. And, and if you don't have a local GameStop, your friends might be able to help you out with that.
Like a gaming club, or even just your friends in general. Like, if your friends are already playing the type of game you're thinking about scooching into a little bit, then obviously they're definitely like a resource that you'd be interested in. Yeah.
Or, if you are getting into it, maybe talk another friend into doing it with you.
Right. Yeah. I mean, to some degree, we did a little bit of that with Keyforge when we started like kind of messing with Keyforge, because it's really hard to play Keyforge by yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah. The most of those collectible card game style games are difficult to play by yourself. And that sounds like a joke, but there are solo. You probably wouldn't play a solo RPG. I don't know. Are there any solo RPGs? There are solo board games and there are solo war games, but I don't know if there's a solo RPG. That would be basically you just imagining things.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Just rolling to see whether you get hit by a goblin.
I think that's kind of why your video games have really taken
off.
No,
absolutely,
because of that.
People want the RPG style experience to some degree, but they don't have a DM, so they just play a video game, which I can totally understand. But yeah, so it's just nice to have that ability to be able to try some of these new things with people either that are friends of yours, or people that you're meeting at a convention, or people at a store who are running a demo, or anything along those lines. I've been to stores before that have the game libraries, and I've seen just like a group of friends walk in and sit down and like grab a game and start playing it, off the rental thing, and then that way they find out whether they dig it or not, and they'll sit there and be reading the rules and looking through all the stuff. And every once in a while, I think I've also seen it because like one person knows it, so they can kind of help move people through it quicker. If you are this is the downside, I think, to being in a group where you're all interested in a new genre, you've all never done it before, and you're going to sit down and open up this box and try to figure it out. It can be done, but it's a bit easier if you've got somebody there who at least kind of knows that new genre area. I think that's important. I think it's also important to see if there are any gateways between the genres that you already play in the new one. And what I mean by gateway, it's a thing I've been talking about on my YouTube channel for a long time. The concept of a gateway game in tabletop wargaming is a game that can bring people from a different genre to my genre. So there are plenty of board games out there that have lots of miniature pieces in them, but that doesn't necessarily make it a gateway game.
No, but like the game Gloomhaven is an excellent RPG gateway.
From board games. From board games to RPGs. Yeah, exactly.
It gives you, persistent characters, choices, classes.
And leveling up. Skills, whatever, that kind of jazz. So it's like an RPG almost, but it's in a big box that's a board
so
game,
more simplified.
And it has tiles. And, yeah, exactly. So it's heading you in that direction, but it's not ripping off the Band-Aid. In my type of gaming, like I said, in tabletop wargaming, you've got games out there that are like Zombicide is a good gateway game because it is still a board game, and yeah, it comes with lots of miniatures, but you're actually looking at like, do I have this range to shoot my gun at these? Like, can these guys see me or not? It gets into line of sight, range, positionality, all kinds of different things like that you find when you are working with a role-playing game. Whereas in a normal board game, it's just basically like, oh, I move my guys 3 spots, 1, 2, 3. Now I'm over here by Candyland or whatever. That kind of stuff. That was a little bit of a low blow. I apologize. Not all board games are Candyland. But so that type of thing is interesting because it helps a lot with kind of slowly baby stepping into this new genre. I don't know. I mean, if you were into board gaming, what would be a gateway between board games and board games and collectible card games? I would say Dominion would not be a bad one.
That's not a bad one.
Yeah. Any of those living card game type style.
Right. Legendary.
Ascension.
Race to the Galaxy.
Race to the Galaxy? Yeah, I guess that's true.
I mean, you're building decks and stuff like that.
No, that's true.
Yeah.
Like, what's a gateway from... Let's see if we can stump you. I don't know what's a gateway between, say, collectible card games and... Actually, this is an easy one. Collectible card games and miniatures and wargaming.
Ooh. X-Wing?
Not bad.
Because you're kind of limited, but you're still kind of building
you're kind of building a deck to some degree, kind of like you're like picking card combinations for each of your space fighters and stuff like that.
And you don't have to paint.
Right, and you don't have to paint. We've seen plenty of people actually who are Magic players who started also playing Star Wars X-Wing back when it first came out. That I saw a lot of people at our local shop who I'm like, aren't you usually here for Friday Night Magic? And they've got like a ton of spaceships. I was also going to say that one's actually better than the one that I thought. I was thinking Warhammer Underworlds. Shadespire and stuff like that. Again, that one's a little bit more deck building as opposed to just having cards and combos. But that's a good. So there are gateway games out there for I would assume every genre. I don't know if you want to go from RPGs to CCGs. That's a tough one. I'm sure there's got to be is there a role-playing game for Magic? Like that uses the story? No, there is. Didn't they just put out a book? Didn't Wizards of the Coast just put out a book that's about
the Planeswalkers and stuff like that?
Yeah.
There's somebody yelling at their
I'm sure, yeah. You let us know in the comments below. If you've got actually a gateway game, like I would love to see some emails and some comments about, like, if you wanted to go from this to this, what are the good gateway games?
Oh, yeah.
We could make up a cool list and maybe a good article or a good something or whatever. We'll do something.
The gateway.
I'll write it on a piece of paper and then leave it someplace. That's like content creation.
Yeah.
Not quite. But gateway games are super important, I think, for that kind of stuff. It's super helpful to dip your toe, but not completely rip off the Band-Aid and all that jazz. And then also, it's just important to set some goals and understand that your goals don't have to be written in stone.
Right, yeah. Like, why are you getting into RPGs? Are you getting into RPGs because you like the genres? You want to get into storytelling? You want to...
It's because your friends are playing it?
Your friends are playing it.
Yeah.
Because you're going to be the next Matt Mercer.
Sure. I mean, straight up, you may be doing it because your friends are doing it and still find that you really hate it. And even though you and your friends are good friends and you like a lot of the same things, there may be something that...
Sometimes they're just wrong.
Exactly, right. Sometimes they're just not very smart. And so that's the way it works. So yeah, it's, there just because you're like, okay, cool, I'll give it a try. You can do that. And here's the deal. If you go, I'll give it a try, and you follow the stuff that we've said here, you are much less likely to end up with, at the end, a whole bunch of, let's say, RPG books, but you don't want to play RPGs. You know what I mean?
Right.
If you were like, I'll give it a try, and you just use like D&D Beyond, you use your friends, like, player handbook and all that kind of jazz and everything, you maybe have some dice, or you borrow some dice, or maybe you buy dice. That's fine. But if you were like, I want to play D&D, and then you go out and you buy the 3 books,
Well, 1 book, really.
What?
Because you're not DMing, so you're really
right. But there are people out there who will do that.
Oh, they'll buy like 8 books.
Right, exactly. And so if you go through all that, you spend a whole bunch of money on books, and you buy like 6 pounds of dice, and then you've got all kinds of miniatures and stuff like that, and then it turns out you hate it.
The poker term is pot committed.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
Where you're like, well, I already spent $2,000 on this thing, so I might as well keep going into it because I don't want that money to be wasted.
And it's interesting because at least I see it in wargaming. There's an all-in and fold. I see that a lot, where I will spend a whole bunch of money and then give up like real quick. I mean, I won't. I'll spend a bunch of money, but I've been seemingly going on with it for quite some time now. But there are plenty of people who will just spend a bunch and then go, "Oh, this is not very much fun," and then just dump it. Well, not even dump it. Like he'll just sit in their closet. The smart ones are the ones who are like, "I'm going to throw it on eBay," But it's I don't know. It's difficult, and I think that's another good reason for. Like, what's one of the reasons why I think that in the industry right now, at least in miniature wargaming, skirmish games are so popular, because you're not building an entire army full of 75 to 100 little dudes. You're building an army of 10.
Smaller commitment, yeah.
Exactly. So that kind of thing makes a lot of sense. And I've got a friend who just, I think this weekend, he had a little event at his house for some of his other friends who have played miniature games in the past, but have not played in quite some time. And so he just had 4 small armies for Kill Team, and he set up a board and had them all come over and taught them the rules and sat down and played, and they didn't have to paint anything or buy anything or whatever. They probably had some adult beverages, maybe some snacks, and it's a fun time. So that kind of thing is also helpful, because you can also, and we've talked about becoming a gaming advocate in the past. This is sort of the opposite side of that coin.
Okay.
In that normally, like, becoming a gaming advocate, you're saying, I really like this game and nobody in my area plays it, so I'm just going to keep standing on the soapbox and teaching people about it until hopefully we get a community of people playing it.
Right.
Whereas the opposite is like, I am interested in this game for myself, so I'm going to try to figure out if I can find people. If we can get the person who's looking for something outside their comfort zone and the people who are looking to be gaming advocates, if we can get them together, that's a thing. So yeah, that kind of stuff I think is pretty important and useful for getting people to start trying to play some other things. I mean, what's the benefit really to getting outside? If you're going to sit down and like actually look at the brass tacks, like what's the benefit of getting outside of your comfort area?
It's learning more stuff, so you get kind of a broader experience, and then being able to take stuff because each genre offers something different.
Absolutely.
Like I still remember when I was starting to get miniatures, you're like, oh, the nice thing about miniatures is that you can hobby even when nobody's around.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It becomes a solo experience when you want it to be, and if you're snowed in, that's a great time to sit down and paint a bunch of stuff.
And board games, easy to travel. If I'm going on a road trip, it's harder to take, a 2,000 point army than it is to take, 5 or 6 board games.
Sure.
And also able to get more people into it.
Yeah, exactly. Like, because even smaller yet than board games are generally card games.
Yeah.
Like collectible card games. But then generally the way the collectible card games are played is that everybody needs to have their own deck. Right. So you could bring a couple of decks and be like, here, and show them. But with the board games, you just like open up the box and everybody plays, and then you put the box away.
Right.
It's kind of nice that way. So, yeah, I think that the benefits also for getting outside your comfort area is that there are a lot of gamers out there who are kind of stuck in a rut sometimes. They play like the one game they like to play. Maybe they're like really into Magic, or they're really into Age of Sigmar, or they're really into Settlers. Yeah, like that's all they play. Like they go to tournaments and all that kind of stuff.
I just saw someone who bought a 3D printer
just to make Settlers
just to make the Settler board.
Yeah, the 3D board. Yeah,
which is awesome. I'm like, wow, that's dedication.
Yeah, no, it is. It really is. I mean, that's the trick. And so, being able to kind of spread it around a little bit, it does a couple of different things. I think number one is it teaches you about different types of games out there. Maybe you'll find a game you like even a little bit better. Or sometimes you won't feel like you're stuck in a rut because you'll be like, oh, I've been playing Settlers so much. I just can't do it this weekend. I'm just going to sit and veg in front of the TV. And instead, you'll be like, you know what I'm going to do instead? I'm going to get together and play some D&D with my other pals. And that's cool. But it's also connecting you to more people.
I was going to say, how many times, if you only play D&D and then your group doesn't get together for 3 months because of scheduling conflicts.
No, that's very true.
You could just
fall off the wagon.
Right. Be like, I'm not into tabletop gaming anymore because I can never play.
Oh, yeah.
Versus, I can pretty much any night of the week go and play a board game at the shop.
It's all about diversifying your gaming. That's, right. I think I may have made a video about that a long time ago. I'm pretty sure it was a long time ago, but I did make a diversify your gaming video. And I think that back then the idea was, and again, it was wargaming. Hey, if this company that makes this game that you like goes out of business or does something horrible to that game that you don't like anymore, then if that's the only game you play, you fall out of the hobby. Whereas if you play a couple different games, then if this one goes weird on you, then you could be like, cool, I'll just switch over to this one now.
Right.
And so it's the same type of thing with this situation. Well, you're right. When you are only stuck in a rut of one game with one group of friends, then if something happens to that group, whether it's just scheduling or whether somebody moves away or whatever, it can really put a kibosh on your tabletop gaming time and your enjoyment. So, definitely think about it. At the very least, it doesn't cost anything. Think about, hey, I like if you're a person who plays just like one type of game, or maybe even just two types of games, and you're thinking maybe there's a third type of game I might be interested in. If you only play one type of game, I think it's a super smart idea to look at other ones as well. If you play two, then it's not a bad idea to look at a third one. If you already play 3 different types of games already,
you might as well get all 4.
Well, see, there you go. Yeah, got to collect them all. So yeah, that's something to think about as well. All right, is there anything else we've got for that topic? Which we got from Matthew, but not you.
Hopefully that covers what Matthew was looking for.
I hope that's a good answer. Yeah, hopefully. All right, now we'll get into the rest of the episode here. The actual topic. No, I'm kidding. Thanks again for listening to this episode of the GameFor Podcast. If you've got questions or comments and you're watching on YouTube, please leave a comment below. If you're watching on YouTube, you could also, subscribe if you haven't already.
That would be pretty awesome. Yeah.
I hear something about like a thumbs up, a like. I don't know. You can do that too if you're into that kind of thing.
And the more they do that, the more stuff we can do with our podcast.
That's true. That's a good point. If you're listening via your favorite podcast player, you just aren't into the whole YouTube comment section thing, then you can feel free to reach out to us at email or via email. I've screwed it up a couple of times now. The last couple of weeks, I remember that sentence is throwing me off.
That does it. We're rewriting that whole.
That's probably not a bad idea, really. Anyway, you could send us an email at podcast@imgamefor.com. Again, also, if you're listening to us on podcast stuff, if you want to write us a review or something, that'd be cool. Or even just give us the stars or whatever the thing is. But an actual written review would be also spectacular.
Yeah, that helps us
on iTunes or Spotify or whatever.
That helps people find us. Yep, we're starting to see. Us showing up on some charts.
Yeah.
Especially Luxembourg.
For some reason, people in Luxembourg. It could be just literally like 2 people in Luxembourg.
But thank you, because
thanks to those
we've been
folks,
number 1 on leisure and games for the last couple of weeks.
In Luxembourg.
In Luxembourg,
which is great. That's awesome. No problem with that. I've never been to Luxembourg.
I think we're gonna have to go if they keep doing that.
Could be, yeah. It's an office trip. All right. Anyway, you can also find us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, and technically TikTok. Lastly, to find out more about the GameFor platform designed to connect tabletop gamers, please check out our website at www.imgamefor.com. That is www.imgamefor.com. Thanks.